Welcome back to Manly Mythical Story Emporium. You have me, your host, the pugilist of pontification, your speaker's favorite speaker, with more stories than the Burj Khalifa, Thurston J.Y. Manley. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you for following. Thank you for coming back. We did take 1 week off with Christmas, and I had some technical issues in between there. Hopefully we can get back on track and give you a story every Tuesday, or as I feel, earlier than that. But right now, this is the first story after Christmas. So the theme will be maybe gifts. Yeah, we're going to call it gifts. Christmas gifts. This episode is Christmas gifts. And the first story is the 10-speed terror. The 10-speed terror. And the second story is a 20 from heaven. A 20 from heaven. A 20 from heaven, and a 10-speed terror. All these stories will have themes dealing with either gifts or things that you're supposed to be giving during the holiday season. So, Christmas gifts is the theme for this episode. And once again, thank you guys for listening. Follow me, Manly Mythical Story, on IG, and also Manly Mythical Story Emporium on Facebook. And if you have any story ideas, manlystory@gmail.com, DM me. Please follow, subscribe, and rate and review if you can, so I can get more listeners. And then when I get more listeners, I get more advertising. So thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. First story coming up is 10-speed terror. And then the second story is a 20 from heaven. A 20. 120 twin from heaven. A 20 from heaven. Thank you guys for listening. First story after this ad. Bye. Enjoy. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download free Anchor app, or go to anchor.fm to get started. A 10-speed terror. A 10-speed terror. This story is based on my 10-speed bike. But before I became this 10-speed terror, I was first like a BMX berserker, if you will. I would ride my BMX bike. One Christmas, I got a bike, which is something you don't see. This Christmas morning of 2020, or any Christmas since probably 1998, if you look out your window on Christmas Day, you don't really see children that much. You may see a couple with a drone, not even a remote control car, but like straight drone, no outside toys. Mainly people are getting video games, things inside. With the pandemic, I can understand that a little bit, but you got to get a kid a bike. And I remember my first bike, which was my BMX bike. And that bike worked out great for me. I remember it was just a silver bike, had those white tires on it, and it had the white handlebars with like little black dots that kind of looked like the biker gloves of old. And the rubber handles actually wore out on the end of them because I would just leave my bike on the side instead of using a kickstand because I had lost the kickstand on the bike. So the end of the pole was sticking out of that rubber part. And one day I was riding my BMX bike to the local Peter Jeter's. This is what we called it, Peter Jeter's. I don't know why. I actually called all the convenience stores on Main Street Peter Jeter's, but I think only one of them is actually Peter Jeter's. But I went to the gas station with my friends one time riding our bikes because we rode all over town. And because that metal had wore off, I actually scratched somebody's car's paint job, and they were very mad because they were telling me it was a new car, and I had scraped their paint job with the metal on that BMX bike. But I got out of that somehow without having to pay. I scooted away when they turned their back and got to my grandfather's house. And then the next weekend, I took some plywood my grandfather had laying around, because he had a lot of plywood that was laying around or nailed to stuff because he had chickens. And if anybody out there has owned chickens or lived with somebody that has a chicken farm, you'll notice their backyards look like something had exploded back there, like a hardware store had exploded and they were just trying to strap it together. It almost looks like something out of Walking Dead. Especially if you're not professionally done, if it's just done on your own, which my grandfather's was. He just made these chicken coops on their own, so there was always plenty of things for me to play with laying around. Table legs that we made into bats, or tabletops and plywood that you can make into a ramp. And then I stole a tire, because there was car tires from my cousin Steven's Camaro that he had back there, like the rims off the tires. And we rolled those to the front yard, and we took some of the plywood, me and my cousin Jamel, and took my BMX bike that had the worn out rubber tabs and worn out seat, and I tried to jump the plywood. And before we got the tire, we had actually tried it with another little box that my grandfather had, which was actually like an old drawer that he had in the chicken coop that he kept seed in. So I took that and put that under the plywood, and I did a little jump. I was like, yay, wee, as you go over it. But apparently we've been watching Dukes of Hazzard that day, so we had to get Steven's tire from the Camaro. And when I jumped that, I fell off of the bike in the air, hit my chest on the seat broke and turned up. So it left a nice little bruise. I lost my wind. My cousin was laughing at me. And when I gained my breath and my soul came back to my body, I then fussed at my cousin for laughing at me and realized my bike seat had permanently been broke sitting up. This was just one screw. My father didn't have much mechanical ability as far as fixing anything, but it was just one screw. The seat is up, and when I moved it back down, it was too floppy to stay up. So I kept the bike for a couple weeks, right before Christmas, with no seat, just a metal bar up, and I had to ride the bike because I couldn't hang out with my other friends if I didn't have my bike. But I convinced my parents that I needed another bike. I had slightly gotten too big for the BMX bike, height-wise. Not girth-wise, for those that know me. I'm a wide brother. But at that time, I had gotten taller. And my parents decided to get me a bike after asking for Christmas. And this bike they bought me was a 10-speed. I was not big enough for this 10-speed. I would pedal the bike, and it would almost be like I'm kicking the pedal down and hoping it'll come back up. So whenever I rode this bike, I would have to kick it and catch it on the back stand. And when I opened it on Christmas morning, I couldn't even get on the bike when I took it outside. I would have to actually put it on the ground because my parents' house was, beautifully enough, was built on a crawl space, meaning that it had like one of those little fake storage basements as opposed to just on a concrete slab. So I could put my bike down in front of the porch and jump off the porch onto the bike, kind of like the Western days. And ride it around. But otherwise, I couldn't like lean it to hop up. I could try like the little technique, almost like Bambi in the, when she first learned how to walk, like turn that front tire. But the pedals would have to be in the right position for me to do that. And I wrecked so many times on this 10-speed. But when I finally got it going, it was a beautiful thing. And one of the funny things was, that same year, somebody my same size, the pastor's son, Quentin, he got a 10-speed too. It must have been a sale because he had a blue one and I had a red one. And neither one of us was the right size for it. But once we got it rolling, we were good. We were like speed racers. But it was doing no tricks. I couldn't do any more ramp jumps on it because I knew those tires were too thin. But that red 10-speed really got me through. I didn't scratch up any more cars. And I didn't hurt anybody else or cuss out my cousins anymore or steal plywood or tires. But that was a great Christmas. The 10-speed terror, or Red Rider if you would. The roguish Red Rider. JY, Into the Sunset. Thank you guys for listening. Next story coming after this break. A 20 from heaven. Now, I do attend First Christian Church in Greensboro. And one of the many things I love about my church, besides being open and confirming, because apparently you got to confirm that you're okay with gay people and treat them as people. We agree. They are people, but should be treated as people, and they can come to our church. That's one of the things I enjoy. The other thing that I enjoy about our church is what we do in the community. And one of the things we do in the community is we go to the local farmers market and we have a booth. And some of the people in the church that cook can donate things to the booth at the farmers market. And when they donate it, we take these items and we sell them for $1 or 50 cents at the farmers market. And that money, all the proceeds that we get from that money goes back to the farmers market, because the farmers market has a food assistance program for the people that run it. And you can come in there and you show whatever proof it is to show that you're low income or you need help with getting groceries. And they give you these like wood tokens that are equivalent to $1. And everybody that is at the said farmers market agrees to accept these wood tokens as payment. And then you can kind of settle up at the end of the day with the farmers market. So people are buying these goodies from us with the wood tokens. And we take those wood tokens, and we obviously don't cash those in. We just give those back to the farmers market, so they get that money, as plus they get the cash that we got, so they can help other people get groceries. Because the government does provide assistance for food and giving things for people to eat, but a lot of times they're not organic or even healthy. So it helps with people getting vegetables as an option. And just like any great father would want to do, is you want your son to be involved in this situation. For me, it was both of my boys, because I wanted to show them that giving is important. They kind of already knew this, but I want to let them know there's multiple ways you can help. And my children, I have different personalities. My youngest child, he is a big fan of sales and being funny and outgoing. My oldest son is more quiet, stays to himself. And my youngest kind of has a little bit of me with the salesmanship. And so we're selling these baked goods, and I'm doing a lot more outgoing stuff than the other people there. Not just the people in our booth, but in general. So I'm about to sell out the whole booth, because I thought every week we sell out all these pastries, because this was my first time helping. But apparently, normally we don't. We usually wind up discounting or giving away. That's why the booth is empty. So I've sold almost everything. I'm selling cakes. I'm talking to everybody who walks by. I'm telling them all the good stuff about the program. George is slowly catching up on, spilling the program. So I'm letting them do more. And Charlie's doing the same, my youngest. As we leave, the lady that's the head of it, Darylyn, is helping pack up the stuff. And she packs up all the goods, turns all the money in. And when we're taking our table, because we brought our own folding table and some folding chairs, as we're taking it back, my son sees there's a $20 bill stuck under like a car tire, right under our car tire, in the front wheel of our tire. Like it had fell down and got stuck under the tire. My son gets it, pulls it up. He's like, "Ooh, I found a 20." And Darylyn hears it and is like, "Well, we're going to give you the choice of, you can keep the 20 because you did find it and we don't know where it belongs, or you can donate it to this." And my son looked her dead in the face and said, "Well, I've worked this whole day. I think this 20 is from heaven and it is for me. So see you next week." And he just walked off and got in the car. I just shrugged my shoulders. I mean, considering the amount of money I give him for anything out front, I'm just be happy he can cuss out and at least told her the 20 was there. So he did volunteer. He did put in a good effort, but I couldn't convince him to give him that 20, because you do want to leave them with the thought of doing it on their own, because God doesn't like a grudging giver. You got to give willingly. Lesson of the day: give willingly and keep that 20 to yourself. Thank you guys for listening. We're going to do a wrap up after this, and that's the end of our show. Thank you for listening. Thank you guys for listening to the Manly Mythical Story Emporium. Once again, I'm your host, Thurston JY. I appreciate you guys for listening to my podcast. One of the things that I like to do at the end of the episode is wrap it up with something maybe funny or ideas or hints or just a rant that I have. And I hope, first of all, everybody got everything they ever wanted for this Christmas day, and you're enjoying your gifts and you appreciate them. Because my kids this year, I think they actually did appreciate it, because the bigger things that they had on their list, what they did get, we did not get any of those new systems. The Xbox X series, which doesn't even make sense, because the first Xbox is Xbox, second Xbox is Xbox 360, and then the third Xbox is the Xbox One, and then the fourth one is the X. So X is usually 10, but whatever. But PlayStation, that does it right. We didn't get a PlayStation 5 either. We'll wait for the bugs to get worked out, and then we'll get that second system around, or we just won't get it and we'll be fine with it. But my kids got all the games. They got Cyberpunk, and that game surprised me because you can adjust the male genitalia on the game. Yeah, that was a surprise. You can see it. It's in your face. And you can have a man and switch it to woman parts. Very surprising. Glad my kids are teenage, because I grew up in a day where the games that were mature was Mortal Kombat. And if you hit somebody, you got a little blood splatter. But now, it's porn. Yep, the game has a tad bit of porn in it. I mean, Grand Theft Auto was rough. You know, you pick up a lady of the night and then the car jerks back and forth. But this is out there. This is you choosing your parts. This is digital porn. By the way, I enjoy the game. Cyberpunk's a great game. I haven't got to the glitches yet because I'm not as good at these games, and I play them on easy. I'm older. I'm realizing that all these options, like the R1, R2, all those little extra buttons on the top to switch between, I don't have the interest or time. I do suffer from a little, attention deficit, and with doing podcasts and having a family, I have enough time to be remembering, well, to use the code to break it, you got to hit R2 and then you got to select it down. No. But I did enjoy the game. Good job. The only thing that bothered me this Christmas is the shipping from these stores and the shipping from the postal service and the UPS. I appreciate you guys putting that effort out there, and all those people work hard to deliver stuff, but what in the whole crap have we not figured it out yet to get stuff shipped to appropriate places? Like, I had so many orders. You got to realize you just got to order stuff early, I know. But my mother-in-law realized Christmas was going to happen around December 15th and decided to order stuff for my wife at the time, her daughter, on the 15th. And we didn't get stuff to the New Year's Eve from a store. They had it at the store. They just had to ship it. And it took, 10 days? Almost 9 days? That don't make sense. That shouldn't happen in modern society. And then I go to a store, like I want to big up, is Belks. They're amazing. They tell you what's in the store, you order it in the store, and you can come pick it up. And I call it Belks with an S at the end, because it's B-E-L-K, I know, but we're in the South, we add an S to it, so we go to the Belks. If you're in the South, shop at the Belks, go online. One of the greatest stores of all time. You can order it, they bring the junk out there to you. You go to some of these other stores, it wait forever. You go to their website, you don't know if it's really in the store or not. You don't know if it's back ordered till later, because they too big for their britches. But anyway, that store saved me. That tracking saved me. Amazon did all right. But I had to cancel a couple things. And this canceling is, I think I'm going to mess up my Amazon credit with all the canceling. But this Christmas came out pretty good. Kids enjoyed it. I'm playing their gifts more than they do. Oculus, the best. Virtual reality. It's finally made it. Wireless. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Another episode next week. That'll be New Year's Eve. Enjoy. Happy New Year. Feliz Navidad. Prospero años.